Thank you for having me here today. I'm Jonathan Barthel, and I'm an occupational therapist and a certified hand therapist, and I work for Samaritan. And I split time between our North Albany office, which is Rebound Physical Therapy, and also here at Lebanon Community Hospital. And today we're going to really talk about trying to stay healthy and active there. We've already talked a little bit about foods and medications, and now trying to incorporate some exercise into our daily lives too, so that we can remain independent and healthy and active throughout our lifespan there. There are some stats. We're going to go over these are really brief though, because part of my job, I was told earlier, was to get everybody out of their seats. So during the talk a couple times we're going to get out and do a couple very easy exercises there. So heart disease and stroke are two of the leading causes of death in the U.S. Heart disease is number one, and 1 out of every 4 people will die of heart disease in the U.S., and stroke is number 4. So these are really important, and combating some of this, staying active is going to help there. So the government thinks so too, and they've come up with a program called the Million Hearts Initiative. And in that, they want to prevent 1 million heart attacks and strokes by 2017. So that's not too far off from now. So it's a major importance, not only to us, but seen on a large scale as well. So the focus of this talk, how can we stay active and healthy? And what are some of the things that keep us from staying active and healthy there? One thing that we can all do is improve our posture. It's something that I know that I have to work on and everybody has to work on, but it has major health implications on neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, and how we work and how we breathe. Also sends a lot of signals, even just our body language there with our posture. Arthritis. Everybody is probably familiar with Uncle Arthur. Not really a friend of most of ours, but he is around. And so how can we manage arthritis? And we'll talk a little bit about that so that we can stay active. And then preventing falls, especially as we age, just higher and higher risk. We don't bounce as well. And so there are a lot of things that can really slow us down in regards to injuries from falls. So let's talk first about posture there. And we're going to go over a couple different types of posture so you can just kind of get to see and maybe pick where you are on this scheme. You can see the gentleman, let's see, on your far right, that's good posture there. Just over from that, these are just categories, but you have a forward head posture. And most of us have some form of a forward head posture, and it kind of goes along with having rounded shoulders. So if you're looking at me from a profile, as we kind of go with our shoulders forward, our head comes forward too. And you can see then we're outside of the line that's on the good posture picture. Then we have some fancy words like thoracic kyphosis, and that's just means you have too much curve in your upper back. And the next one over, lumbar lordosis, and other fancy terms, are too much curve in your lower back. And then we have the sway back, or just kind of walking like this. So kind of get an idea where you might be on this continuum, because again, this is something that takes being proactive that we all have to work on to improve our posture. So what's our goal for proper posture? And here it is. It's basically a straight line through your ears, shoulders, hips, knees, and ankles. Well, my other picture's gone now, but you saw that on the gentleman on the far right there. So you might get kind of a kick out of this there, that you have to kind of decide which candy cane you are. One candy cane telling the other one, you have bad posture. This also might not be exactly what we want here either. You kind of see that this young gentleman needs a little bit of work. And we've all been there. If you've ever been on a computer or typewriter or anything like that at a desk, you can pick which one you are, whether you're far away, close. And you know what? If you were just behind the computer for a minute or two, it probably wouldn't matter. But if you're spending any time at all there, especially for an employment, or you do spend a lot of time surfing the web or doing emails or whatever. It really makes a big difference how you are and the ergonomics that you set up and the posture that you do at the computer. I don't know if you can all read this too, but I'll read it out to you. The quarterly earnings don't look good. We seem to be in a bit of a slump. So we're going to see how many people are in a slump here today as we kind of get up off our chairs in just a second. There. Oh, and we have the famous TV posture. So all we're missing here is the bag of chips, and I don't see a remote. So, but other than that, we're got some work to do. Okay, let's go ahead now and stand up. Some of these you don't have to be standing up for, but it's time to get up anyway. So let's just, if you're able, let's go ahead and stand up. And the first exercise that we're going to go over is a chin tuck, and this is to combat that forward head posture. And I noticed this first when I was a student, and I was behind the computer all day. I started like this, but I ended like this. And what we're going to do is we're going to stretch the muscles in the back of your neck, and I really noticed how tight I was even as a young man, because I was young back then. And when you do a chin tuck, how tight it felt in the back of my neck and all the way up to my skull. We're going to show you a picture of this. Another term is kind of the funky chicken, but what you're going to do is you're going to try and bring your chin straight back and try and bring that in alignment. And you may have some fixed things with your neck that it doesn't like. And if you get any symptoms, anything running down your arms or anything, then don't force something that doesn't feel good. But in general, doing some chin tucks can be very helpful. And you can see on the second picture, your head kind of raises a little bit when you do this. It kind of creates a little more space for the nerves that come out in your neck and go down your arms there. So it can be helpful. And it's a very simple thing to do. You can be watching television, talking to a spouse or a friend. You can just, they might look at you funny, but you can do a couple of these. You can be in the car there. You want to just come back and hold there a little bit. And again, remember, our goal is that straight line. We want to get our ears over our shoulders there. So if our head's forward, it's not there. Okay, second one, the shoulder blade squeeze. Again, you don't have to be standing to do this one, but generally speaking, with posture, as we round forward, we're tight in our fronts, and we're weak and overly stretched out in our backs there. So generally speaking, we want to stretch our fronts and tighten our backs. So here's our tighten up to our backs. We're going to squeeze our shoulder blades back. And you can do this in many different ways. But you're basically trying, in your mind, you're trying to pinch those shoulder blades back there. Here's another example so you can kind of get an idea there, but you're really just squeezing back. Again, you can do these anywhere. You don't have to be a member of Gold's Gym or anything like that to do this. You can be in the privacy of your own home and squeeze your shoulder blades. Okay, we have a corner stretch. This goes again to what we were talking about stretching our fronts. So we want to stretch our fronts and tighten our backs. Sometimes it's hard to find a corner in your house because there's pictures and doors and windows and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you can make an inside corner in the bathroom, shut a door, put an arm on the door and an arm on the wall, and just stretch. And we're stretching through our chest and our front of our shoulders. And again, looking for that straight line kind of posture. Okay, this is kind of a tough one. I may challenge a couple of you. This is a pelvic tilt, so we're going a little bit further down. We're not going to ask you to get on the floor right now, but you can see one way to do it is to try and drive your tummy into the floor and straighten out the curve in your lower back. You can do this in standing. And that's where you're going to kind of tuck your bottom in and pull your tummy in at the same time, and you're trying to tip your pelvis back and get some mobility. It's also good for core strengthening there too. So everybody take just a second, try and do that. You don't have to look at your neighbor. You can all just kind of do it yourself there, but try and tighten your tummy and tuck in your bottom there and see if you can kind of get a little tilt in your pelvis there. Help you with the dancing too. Okay. You can all have a seat again. We'll get you up in just another minute because I got some other things to do too with you. But we had talked earlier about Uncle Arthur being not a friend of anybody's. And so what is arthritis? It's basically joint inflammation. That's what the term is defined as. And it's usually involved in the wearing away of the cartilage at a joint there. And arthritis can really lead to us being inactive. And again, that can have major effects on our cardiovascular health and a lot of different things, but especially our cardiovascular health there. So in hand therapy, one of the most common places that we get arthritis is in the base of our thumbs there. And it really can affect a lot of different activities that you're doing. It's usually right here. I was talking to somebody earlier who was showing off her thumb arthritis to me. I won't point any fingers, but it really can affect how we do opening containers, cutting food, crushing medications, being active, playing golf. So what are some of the things that you can do, especially if it affects your dominant hand? It becomes much more of an issue. One thing is there are different thumb supports. There's a lot of different things on the market. There's some splints that we make in hand therapy that are molded to you, where you take a piece of plastic and you form it to you so it fits just you. There are some over-the-counter splints that work just as well for certain activities. And it's just a tool that you can use to help kind of control some of the pain at the base of your thumbs. And it's one tool to kind of combat Uncle Arthur in your thumb and keep you active. What are some other ideas that can help? Sometimes a short course of therapy can help. And what I mean by that is usually 1 to 3 visits to find out if there's a brace, if you're appropriate for a brace, and how that can help. But also some of the ergonomics that you can do to better use your thumb and not to wear out a joint. Sometimes that can be very beneficial so that you can stay independent as long as possible. Following therapy, there's also other things. There's cortisone shots, and that's done by an orthopedist. And it can help with pain for a while. Usually the pain does come back, but it's something that can buy some time. And then there's surgery. So cure for arthritis is to replace the joint. And so if you have bad knee arthritis, you get a total knee replacement. They have these for multiple joints. Thumb is no different. There is quite a few different surgeries to replace the joint at your thumb, and they work very well. But there is a cost. Part of that is usually hand therapy that goes along with that post-operatively too. But it's something to consider if you're really being limited on all your activities. To keep you active, sometimes having a joint replacement, whether it's a thumb joint or a knee joint, can be something that can be very beneficial. Staying active. All right. Maybe the most dangerous incident that can limit our activity is injuries from falls there. So one of the things that's important is how can we prevent these falls from happening? Even before we talk about that, we'll talk about some general things about falls, that they're always fast. Hopefully you guys aren't on skates too much. They're never fun, and they're rarely graceful there. So I don't know if you fall and then look around to see if anybody saw you, but they generally are not graceful, but they really can limit our activity, especially as we get older, have more osteoporosis, and can have higher incidence of fractures and other injuries there. Okay, so some of the common injuries that we see more in hand therapy are for the upper extremity, and then these are generally people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s. First is a distal radius fracture, and that's a broken bone at your wrist from falling out on your hands there. As we age or have more osteoporosis, instead of breaking at your wrist, all that force is transferred up into your arm, and you usually break up closer to your shoulder. It's called a proximal humerus fracture. And then there's other soft tissue injuries. I'm sure everybody's heard of a rotator cuff injury, and that's where the muscle and tendons are torn in your shoulder. And again, all these things can really limit your activity, so we want to, if something happens, you want to be able to address that. But the big thing is preventing those things, so that a stitch in time saves 9 there. So how can we prevent some falls? This is some resources from our national government here, from NIH. One is to use a cane or a walker if it's appropriate for you. Try not to be a Superman or Superwoman and take risks that aren't necessary. Good footwear is really important there. So using rubber-soled shoes, trying to avoid walking around in just socks and slippers and loose things that you can trip and fall on, and kind of stay away from some of the high-heeled shoes. We need to be realistic and then also really avoid the chances of falling. On those slippery environments, it's important to assess the risk. If you don't need to go out, don't go out so much there. Look at the whole risk and reward there. You can always put salt and kitty litter on icy sidewalks there. And also sometimes just walking on the grass. First of all, you get better grip, but if you do go down, not quite as hard as the pavement there. Okay. When you're indoors, these are just some very general things that you can kind of be thinking about. Make sure your rugs aren't going to slide out from underneath you, that there's some skid-proof or they're tacked down. Kind of keep things cleaned up a little bit. If somebody else can keep it cleaned up for you, or if you can keep cleaned up, it's just less chance of falling. And then everybody knows about slipping and falling in the tub, so using non-skid stuff there. Better lighting makes a big difference. Some of the biggest reasons for falling is that things aren't lit well enough, so you can add lights to an area or keep a flashlight close by. Okay, everybody knows about grab bars and railings. It's important to have, especially everybody can kind of self-assess some of their own needs, but to have railings on either side or both there. Grab bars can be very helpful around toilets, tubs, showers, and no climbing up on little chairs. If you're going to have to get up, if somebody else isn't there, you need to get up, use a sturdy step stool with a handrail and wide steps there. Be careful. Kind of assess your risk and reward there. And don't be in a rush. One thing that can be helpful, we hear the phone ring, all go rushing to the phone. Having a cell phone or a cordless phone around so you don't have to go rushing to the phone and being in a hurry can make a big difference there. And then kind of planning ahead there. All right, are there more things that we can do just besides having some of these lists of things to be thinking about? Yeah, we can try some exercise. And this is where we're going to get you back up out of your chairs again. So let's all come on back up onto your feet there. These are real simple things there, but resistive exercises have been shown to build not only muscle strength, but also bone strength in people even in their 80s and 90s. So that gives us some hope there that, hey, we can still get stronger and kind of combat osteoporosis too. We also can increase our balance, stamina, and also none of this needs to be fancy. Again, you don't want to be members of Gold's Gym or somewhere. You can do this all at your home, and they're very straightforward. Okay, some examples. So this is where we're going to have you. We're going to have you circle behind your chairs, because we're going to use our chair in this there, because you're going to hold on to the back of your chair there. And this is a single leg stance, and you simply are going to make sure you're balanced. We want everybody to be safe. So you have your chair in front of you, and you're simply going to go up on one leg, and you're going to balance. And then we're going to try it on your other leg there. But even at home, you want a countertop or corner, something to hold on to that's sturdy so that if you do start to tip or fall, you have a good way to kind of catch yourself there. So I'm going to give you each 15 seconds, and then we're going to switch seats or switch legs there. So on your marks, get set, go. Let's see if we can go 15 seconds. There, touch down as many times as you need to. 5 more seconds. Okay, that's 15. Let's switch legs. And go. It's harder than you might think, but with practice, it gets a lot easier. All right, and rest there. You know, you can make it harder by closing your eyes, different things like that, but you really use a lot of muscles in your hips, your legs, your ankles, just to help stabilize there. A baby squat. So same thing, we're holding onto our countertop or our chair, and we don't need to do deep knee bends, but we can do little squats. And so if you're able to do 5 or 10 of those right now, that's great. And we're still strengthening hips, legs there to kind of keep us active and limber. Okay. Another very easy one is sidestepping. So if you're at a countertop again or a railing or something, it's just moving side to side where we can really use our hip muscles there and going side to side. And you can choose at home how much you're going to do, how often you're going to do them. But little simple things like this can make a big difference. So simple things with posture, simple things with some balance drills like this can really make a big difference in helping to prevent falls there. Okay, and there's many more. We're not going to go over all. We don't have time to go over all of them today. There. All right, you guys can go ahead and have a seat. Thanks for participating there. So hopefully through all this, your falls are going to look like this. All right. Thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, if you have a couple questions, we can